My family was forcing to marry his friend's son, but I eloped with my true love instead. The story begins with the protagonist, Lila, a young woman in her early 20s. Lila comes from a wealthy family, and her father, Mr. Montgomery, has always held a close relationship with his best friend, Mr. Bennett. Over the years, the families have become intertwined, and expectations have grown for Lila to marry Ethan Bennett, the son of Mr. Bennett. Despite the pressure, Lila has never felt an emotional connection to Ethan, and her heart lies elsewhere, with her boyfriend James, who she's been secretly dating for the past year. Lila's parents start dropping hints about her upcoming marriage to Ethan. The engagement is not just a matter of family tradition, but also a strategic alliance that benefits both families. Lila's father talks endlessly about how well the two families would mesh together, and how proud he would be if Lila married Ethan. Lila's internal struggle deepens, as she feels trapped between her personal desires and her family's ambitions. Despite Lila's obvious discomfort, Ethan proposes to her during a family gathering. Lila's unease grows, but she feels obligated to accept out of respect for her parents. Ethan is kind but lacks the spark Lila craves. Their engagement feels more like an arrangement than a celebration of love. Lila begins to question how much of her life she has been forced to follow a script written by her family. Lila's boyfriend, James, is a free-spirited artist who does not fit the mold of the wealthy, well-established suitor her parents expect. One evening, after Lila's engagement announcement, James confesses his love for her. He tells her that he can't live without her, and that he's willing to do whatever it takes to be with her. His honesty and raw emotion ignite a flame in Lila's heart, making her realize that her love for James is far more real than the obligation she feels toward Ethan. Lila and James secretly continue their relationship despite the growing tension around her engagement. They share stolen moments, sneaking away from the watchful eyes of her family. Lila feels torn between the man she loves and the expectations her family has placed upon her. The guilt of deceiving her parents weighs heavily on her, but her love for James feels like the only thing that's truly hers. As the wedding date approaches, Lila's parents become increasingly insistent on finalizing marriage. Her father, in particular, pushes her to focus on her responsibilities as a daughter and as a future member of the Bennett family. Lila begins to feel suffocated by the constant reminders that her life is already decided for her. She begins to imagine a future with James, far away from the controlling grip of her parents. At a family gathering, tensions reach a boiling point when Lila's mother subtly brings up the wedding details, and Ethan begins talking about their future together. Lila's discomfort is palpable. In a quiet moment, James calls her, and she steps outside to speak with him. They talk about the possibility of running away together, eloping to escape the constraints of their families and the life they're being forced into. Lila faces a crucial decision. Does she go along with the wedding to please her family, or does she follow her heart and elope with James? After much inner turmoil, Lila decides to elope with James, understanding that it will cost her family's approval and possibly their love. The decision, though painful, feels like the only way she can truly live for herself. Lila and James secretly make plans to elope. They choose a small town far from their families, where no one knows them. Lila starts planning everything in secret, sneaking around her family's watchful eyes. She knows that her actions will cause a scandal, but the thought of a life with James, free from her family constraints, fills her with hope and excitement. The night before the elopement, Lila is filled with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She has a final, emotional conversation with James, where they reaffirm their love and commitment to each other. Lila knows that leaving her family behind won't be easy, but she also knows that she can't live the life they've planned for her. Lila and James leave in the dead of night, driving away from the life they knew. Their hearts race as they cross state lines, feeling a mix of relief and fear. Lila leaves behind her cell phone, knowing that her family will be furious when they realize she's gone. As they drive toward their new life, Lila feels a sense of freedom she's never known. Once Lila and James arrive at their destination, they find a small, cozy cabin to start their life together. Meanwhile, her family begins to panic when they realize Lila has disappeared. Her parents start calling friends, and her father launches an all-out search to find her. Lila's absence sends shockwaves through both families as the tension between them rises. Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Bennett use their connections to try to track Lila down. They begin contacting mutual friends and acquaintances, hoping for any information that might lead them to her. Lila's family feels betrayed, and they can't understand why she would choose James over the stable future they had promised her with Ethan. Lila and James settle into their new life, but it's not as easy as they hoped. They struggle with the financial realities of their decision, as James's art doesn't yet provide a steady income. Still, they find solace in each other's company and begin to build a modest but happy life together. Lila learns that living independently comes with its own challenges, but the freedom she feels is worth every sacrifice. Back at home, Lila's family reacts with anger and confusion. Ethan is hurt, feeling rejected and embarrassed. He insists that he did everything right, and that Lila was the one who betrayed him. The pressure mounts on Lila's family to fix the situation and bring her back, as they can't afford to have their family reputation tarnished. Lila's parents, particularly her father, begin to struggle with the shame of their daughter's actions. After several days of silence, Lila finally decides to reach out to her parents. She sends them a letter explaining why she eloped with James, sharing her feelings of suffocation and her need to live her own life. She assures them that her decision was not a reflection of their love, but a need for independence and true happiness. Her parents are devastated but unsure how to respond. The fallout from Lila's elopement is harsh. Her father cuts ties with her, accusing her of ruining the family's reputation. Her mother is heartbroken, struggling with the idea that her daughter has chosen a life outside their control. Despite the pain, Lila remains firm in her decision, knowing that living authentically is more important than pleasing her parents. James supports Lila through the emotional fallout, encouraging her to stay true to herself. They talk openly about their future, their dreams, and how they can make it work despite the odds. James reassures her that they can face any challenge together, and Lila begins to feel more confident in her decision. Lila and James continue to adjust to their new life. Lila starts working in a small cafe, and James begins to gain more recognition for his art. Although life is still difficult, they find joy in the small moments. Lila learns to appreciate the beauty of simplicity, and her love for James deepens. Lila's parents unexpectedly visit her and James, though their intentions are unclear. The meeting is tense, with her father expressing his anger and disappointment. Her mother, however, shows a softer side, trying to understand Lila's decision. The visit leaves Lila torn, as she is forced to confront her family's disapproval head-on. The tension between the two families continues to escalate. Mr. Montgomery refuses to speak with Mr. Bennett, blaming him for encouraging Lila's rebellious behavior. Ethan, hurt and humiliated, stops speaking to Lila. The families begin to fall apart as their relationships become more strained and divided. Lila and James receive a letter from Lila's mother, who expresses her sorrow for the pain caused by her father's actions. She admits that she may have been too controlling, and that she regrets not seeing Lila's true desires sooner. Lila is touched by her mother's words, but the divide between them is still significant. As time passes, Lila and James begin to build their life together from the ground up. They discover new strengths within themselves, and Lila starts to heal from the wounds inflicted by her family. Although the path ahead is uncertain, Lila feels a sense of pride in the life she is building with James, free from constraints of her past. One day, while working at the cafe, Lila unexpectedly runs into Ethan. The encounter is awkward, with both of them unsure how to approach the situation. Ethan admits that he's been struggling with the fallout from the elopement, but he's still angry with Lila for defying their families. Lila, however, expresses that she's no longer the person who could marry him just to please others. Ethan leaves, still hurt but with a sense of closure. As the story continues, Lila finds peace in her decision. She no longer feels guilty for choosing her own happiness over family expectations. She and James continue to grow together, learning that love, trust, and compromise are the keys to building a lasting relationship. They start talking about the possibility of starting a family of their own. Lila and James begin to talk about their future in more concrete terms. They discuss everything from career ambitions to the possibility of starting a family. While Lila is happy with her decision to elope, The reality of being cut off from her family and living independently is beginning to settle in. She struggles with the absence of her family's presence in her life. But James reassures her that they are building a life together based on mutual respect and love. One evening, while Lila and James are having dinner at home, there's a knock at the door. It's Lila's mother, Victoria. She comes unannounced, bearing a quiet sadness in her eyes. Lila's heart skips a beat. Her mother apologizes for the way things were handled and admits that, although her father is still angry, she's come to realize that Lila's happiness should have come first. They have an emotional conversation, and Lila feels both relief and confusion. Relief that her mother is willing to reconcile, but confusion about how to move forward with a family that's still divided. Lila's mother expresses regret for not supporting her daughter sooner, but it becomes clear that there are still many emotional wounds to heal. Lila's father remains unmoved and insists that she was wrong to elope. The divide between her parents deepens, and Lila feels torn between her love for her mother and the resentment toward her father's rigid expectations. The tension grows as Lila realizes that the damage to their family may never fully heal. As Lila and James continue to build their life together, they decide to start a small art business. James's art, once a hobby, now becomes their source of income. The couple faces challenges, but they thrive in the simplicity of their new life. Lila begins to find satisfaction in the independence they created, but deep down, she knows the conflict with her family isn't over. She feels caught between the joy of living authentically with James and the weight of her family's expectations. Lila receives an unexpected call from Ethan. He's still hurt by her decision to elope, but he admits that part of him understands why she did what she did. He tells her that he's trying to move on and that he started dating someone else. The conversation is awkward, but Lila feels a strange sense of closure. Ethan's life, it seems, is moving on, and she realizes that their paths were never meant to intertwine. News reaches Lila that her father and Mr. Bennett are planning a joint wedding for Ethan and his new girlfriend. The news stirs up old emotions in Lila, especially seeing how quickly her family is moving on from the rift caused by her elopement. Her father calls to tell her about the wedding and to urge her to attend. Lila, still conflicted, refuses. She realizes that returning to her family would feel like betraying the life she's worked so hard to build with James. Lila and James experience a significant milestone in their relationship when James proposes to her during a quiet evening in their home. It's a simple, intimate moment, but it feels like the perfect representation of their love, free from societal pressures or family expectations. Lila, overjoyed and emotional, accepts. They make a promise to each other that no matter what, they will face the future together, knowing they have already proven that they can live and love authentically. Lila's mother continues to reach out, expressing her desire for reconciliation. She tells Lila that she understands the pain her father is causing and wishes that things were different. Though Lila still feels betrayed by her father's actions, she can't ignore the bond she shares with her mother. After much contemplation, Lila agrees to meet her mother in person, hoping that the time apart has given them both a new perspective. During their meeting, Lila and her mother sit down for an open, honest conversation. Victoria admits that she failed her daughter by putting her father's wishes before Lila's happiness. She acknowledges the pain Lila must have felt in choosing to marry someone she didn't love just to satisfy family expectations. The conversation is healing for Lila, and they begin to rebuild the trust that had been broken. While her father remains distant, Lila starts to feel that a relationship with her mother at least is possible. Lila and James face the ups and downs of being financially independent. They work hard, but sometimes the strain of managing a new business takes its toll. There are moments of doubt where Lila questions whether she made the right decision in leaving her family behind. James is always there to support her, reminding her of the love and freedom they've created together. Slowly, Lila begins to feel that the risks they've taken have led to a richer, more fulfilling life than she could have imagined. James's family becomes a new source of support for Lila. They welcome her with open arms, offering a sense of warmth and acceptance that she had never experienced from her own family. They are kind, humble people who appreciate the couple's journey toward independence. As Lila and James grow closer to his family, she begins to feel that they are building a new sense of family, one that is grounded in love, not obligation. Lila and James decide to expand their art business, opening a small gallery in their town. The venture is risky, but they are excited about the possibilities it holds. They continue to support each other through the challenges of running a business together. And their bond grows even stronger. Lila realizes that this, more than anything, is what she's always wanted, a life where she can be true to herself, free from judgment or pressure. One day, Lila's father shows up at the gallery, unannounced. His face is hard, and Lila immediately feels a wave of tension wash over her. He tells her that he's here because he's finally come to understand why she left. He admits that he was wrong to force her into a marriage with Ethan, and that he sees now that she needs to live her own life. Although Lila is shocked by his admission, she remains cautious. She tells him that rebuilding their relationship will take time, but she's willing to start over on her terms. Lila and her father have several difficult conversations over the next few months. Slowly, they begin to heal their relationship. Her father starts to show a more vulnerable side, acknowledging the pain he caused by trying to control her life. While they may never be as close as they once were, Lila starts to feel that they can coexist with mutual respect. Her father still struggles with the idea of Lila marrying James, but he's learning to accept their love. After months of tension and growth, Lila finally agrees to attend a family gathering, though only for her mother's sake. She is apprehensive, knowing that many of the same people who judged her will be present. At the event, there's an awkwardness in the air, but Lila remains calm and composed. She and James are welcomed by some family members, while others remain distant. Lila realizes that, though her family may never fully understand her choices, she is at peace with them. The healing between Lila and her family reaches a major turning point when her father finally admits that he respects her decision to be with James. While there are still unspoken tensions, Lila feels a sense of peace knowing that her father no longer sees her as a disappointment. The two families begin to coexist, though the bond between them is tenuous at best. Lila and James celebrate their love with a small, intimate ceremony in the presence of close friends and family. This ceremony is not about following tradition, but about honoring the love they have built together. It's a celebration of independence, courage, and the deep connection they share. For Lila, this moment marks the completion of her journey. No longer torn between the expectations of her family and the love she has for James. Lila and James find peace in their life together. Their business thrives, and they are content with the simplicity of their existence. While they occasionally face judgment from outsiders, they've learned to rely on each other for support. Lila no longer feels the weight of her family's expectations, and she has come to realize that her happiness lies in being true to herself. As time passes, Lila's family continues to grow and evolve. Her relationship with her parents remains complicated, but they've reached a point of mutual understanding. Lila now knows that she can have both her independence and her family on her own terms. She and James remain strong, building a life that is theirs alone. The future is bright for Lila and James. They are planning their next steps, whether that's starting a family of their own or expanding their business. They know that the road ahead will have its challenges, but together, they can face anything. Lila looks back on her journey and feels proud of the person she has become, a woman who chose her own path, no matter the cost. As Lila and James continue to build their life together, they realize that true forgiveness is not only about accepting others, but also about forgiving themselves. Lila's relationship with her father is slowly but surely healing, though it's far from perfect. Her mother, Victoria, becomes a constant source of support, and they begin to forge a new relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. Lila starts to see her parents as imperfect people who made mistakes but are capable of growth, just as she herself has done. Lila is invited to a family dinner hosted by her mother, where her father will also be present. It's a delicate step forward, and Lila feels both nervous and hopeful. James stands by her side as they walk into home, both knowing that the dynamics have changed forever. The evening is filled with awkward silences, but there are also moments of genuine warmth, especially from her mother, who has been working on rebuilding trust with Lila. While her father remains cautious, Lila senses a shift, a small but significant change that makes her feel that, despite the past, there is hope for a better future. As Lila and James work through the complications of their new life, they realize that independence comes with its own set of challenges. Financial struggles still exist, and they are constantly working hard to ensure their business stays afloat. There are moments of doubt, especially when Lila's family continues to exert pressure on her to come back into the fold. Despite the mounting pressures, Lila and James remain committed to their life together. Lila reflects on the price of her independence and acknowledges that while it hasn't been easy, the freedom to live authentically has been worth every sacrifice. Lila and James decide to start their own tradition, one that is free from the constraints of their family's expectations. They begin hosting gatherings with close friends and new people they've met along their journey. These gatherings are filled with laughter, creativity, and a sense of freedom that Lila has never known before. They even start collaborating on creative projects together, James with his art and Lila with her business acumen, building a life that is uniquely theirs. These traditions symbolize their rebellion against the suffocating expectations they once faced, and in this space, they truly feel like equals, partners, and a family of their own making. As time goes on, Lila and James finally come to terms with the decisions they've made and the journey they've been on. Their love has deepened, and their bond is stronger than ever. They no longer feel the weight of their family's expectations or the judgment of society. Instead, they embrace the future with open hearts, ready to face whatever life may throw at them together. Lila looks back on her past and feels a sense of pride in the strength it took to forge her own path. She knows that, despite all the difficulties, she has created a life that is hers, authentic, free, and full of love. James and Lila begin to plan their next chapter, knowing that they are unstoppable as long as they stand by each other. They talk about their dreams of eventually starting a family. But this time, their vision is not constrained by anyone else's ideas of what it should be. They've learned to make their own choices, to trust in themselves, and to always put their love first. Lila's journey has been one of self-discovery, defiance, and empowerment. She chose love over obligation and found herself in the process. She and James have built a life that reflects who they truly are, free from the chains of societal expectations and family pressures. Their story shows that love isn't about pleasing others. It's about finding the person who makes you feel whole, who supports you, and who challenges you to grow. Lila has learned that true freedom comes from making choices that are aligned with your heart and soul, no matter how difficult or unconventional they may seem. This story of courage, love, and independence is a reminder that no matter what obstacles we face, we have the power to create our own happiness.